Far gone in weariness and oblivion, the noble and enduring men slept on. But Athena in the night went down the land of the Vikings, entering their city. In days gone by, these men held Hyperia, a country of wide dancing grounds, but near them were overbearing Cyclopses, or Cyclopes. I don't know why. Whose powers could not be turned from pillage. So the Vikings migrated thence under Nausithous to settle a new world across the sea, Scheria Island. That first captain walled their promontory, built their homes and shrines, and parceled out the black land for the plow. But he had gone down long ago to death. Alcinous ruled, and the heaven gave him wisdom. So on his night, the goddess, gray-eyed Athena, entered the palace of Alcinous to make sure of Odysseus' voyage home. She took her way to a painted bedchamber, where a young girl lay fast asleep, so fine in mold and feature that she seemed a goddess, the daughter of Alcinous, Nausicaa. Either side, as graces might have slept, her maids were sleeping. The bright doors were shut, but like a sudden stir of wind, Athena moved to the bedside of the girl, and drew visible as the shipman of Dymas' daughter, a girl at the princess's age, and her dear friend. Basically, what this is talking about is the creation of the island, Scheria Island. And so, the Vikings, they moved to settle a new world across the sea, and then they created Scheria, however you pronounce that, and then Alcinous was the ruler of Scheria. Off to the side my hair goes. In this form, and then Athena then goes to Alcinous in his chamber, and she's going to check on Odysseus and how his voyage went. In this form, great-eyed Athena said to her, "How so remiss, and yet thy mother's daughter? Leaving thy clothes uncared for, Nausicaa, when soon thou must have storage of marriage linen, and put thy minstrelsy on a wedding dress. Beauty in these will make the folk admire, and bring thy father and gentle mother joy. Let us go washing in the shine of morning. Beside thee I will drub, so wedding chests will brim by evening. Maidenhood must end. Have not the noblest born Vikings paid court to thee, whose birth none can excel? Go beg thy sovereign father, even at dawn, to have the mule cart and the mules brought around to make thy body linen, groans and mantles. Thou shouldst ride, for it becomes thee more. The washing pools are found so far from home." So Athena goes up to the daughter, Nausicaa, and how dare you leave your clothes uncared for? Like, sooner or later, you're gonna have to put on marriage linen and a wedding dress. And the people will admire it. So you need to be more formal. Go beg thy sovereign father, even at dawn, to have the mule cart and the mules brought round to make thy body linen, gowns and mantles. So she's telling her to set up stuff to make the dresses. And then she's like, the washing pools are far from home, so that she'll need to leave. I don't know why she's doing this, but that's what Athena's telling Nausicaa. On this word she departed, gray-eyed Athena, to where the gods have their eternal dwelling, as men say, in the fastness of Olympus. Never a tremor of wind, or a splash of rain, or errant snowflake comes to stain that heaven, so calm, so vaporless, the world of light. Here, where the gay gods live their days of pleasure, the gray-eyed one withdrew, leaving the princess. And now Dawn took her own fair throne, awaking the girl in the sweet gown, and still charmed by a dream. Down through the room she went to tell her parents, whom she still found at home, her mother seated near the great hearth among her maids, and twirling out her distaff yarn dyed like the sea. Her father at the door, bound for a council, a princess on petition of the gentry. So basically Athena, she leaves, she's out of there, and she's off to Olympos, and they spent a while describing that. And then, as Dawn took her throne, as the morning came, the daughter, she went down, and she's about to tell her mother what she had in her dream, the thing Athena told her. She went up close to him and softly said, "My dear papa, could you not send the mule cart around for me, the gig with the pretty wheels? I must take all our things and get them washed at the river pools. Our linen is all soiled, and you should wear fresh clothing. Go to council with counselors and first men of the realm. Remember your 5 sons at home, though 2 are married. We still have 3 bachelor sprigs. They will have none but laundered clothes each time they go to the dancing. See what I must think of." So she's like, "Oh, we gotta get all our stuff washed because Athena told us it was dirty and that we gotta travel out and wash it all out and be more formal." She had no word to say of her own wedding, though her keen father saw her blush. Said he, "No mules would I deny you, child, nor anything. Go along now. The grooms will bring your gig with pretty wheels and the cargo box upon it." He spoke to the stableman, who soon brought round the cart, low-wheeled and nimble, harnessed the mules, and backed them in the traces. Meanwhile, the girl fetched all her soiled apparel and to bundle in the polished wagon box. Her mother, for her luncheon, packed a hamper with picnic fare and filled a skin of wine. And when the princess had been handed up, gave her a golden bottle of olive oil for softening girls' bodies after bathing. Nausicaa took the reins and raised her whip, lashing the mules. What jingling! What a clatter! But off they went in a ground-covering trot, with princesses, maids, and laundry drawn behind. By the lower river, where the wagon came, were washing pools, with water all year flowing in limpid spillways that no grime withstood. The girls unhitched the mules and sent them down along the eddying stream to crop sweet grass. Then, sliding up the cart's tailboard, they took armloads of clothing to the dusky water and trod them in the pits, making a race of it. So what's going on? They travel with all their clothes down to the river or the washing bed or whatever they called it. And now they're going to be washing their clothes. And the thing that Athena probably had planned is that they're going to find Odysseus washed up near the river or the body of water, whatever it is. All being drubbed, all blemished, rinsed away. They spread them, piece by piece, along the beach, whose pebbles had been laundered by the sea. They took a dip themselves, and, all anointed with golden oil, ate lunch beside the river while the bright burning sun dried out their linen. Princesses and maids delighted in that feast. Then, putting off their veils, they ran and passed a ball to a rhythmic beat, Nausicaa flashing first with her white arms. So Artemis goes flying after her arrows flown down some tremendous valley side. Taygetos, Erymanthos, chasing the mountain goats or ghosting deer, with nymphs of the wild places flanking her. And Leto's heart delights to see them running, for taller by a head than nymphs can be, the goddess shows more stately, all being beautiful. So one could tell the princess from the maids. Soon it was time, she knew, for riding homeward, mules to be harnessed, linen folded smooth. But the gray-eyed Athena made her tarry, so that Odysseus might behold her beauty and win her guidance to the town. So basically what happened, they were having a good old time. They bathed and they played ball and they had a good time running around. You know, Nausicaa was wearing a more extravagant dress than all the girls because she was a princess. And she was ready to go, but Athena made her wait there just in case she saw Odysseus and so that she might bring him to the palace so that he won't die. It happened when the king's daughter threw her ball offline and missed, and put it in the whirling stream, at which they all gave such a shout. Odysseus awoke and sat up, saying to himself, "Now, by my life, mankind again. But who? Savages, are they? Strangers to courtesy, or gentlefolk who know and fear the gods?" That was a lusty cry of tall young girls, most like the cry of nymphs who haunt the peaks and springs of brooks and inland grassy places. Or am I amid people of human speech? Up again, man, and let me see for myself. He pushed aside the bushes, breaking off with his great hand a single branch of olive, whose leaves might shield him in his nakedness. He was naked. Oh. So came out rustling like a mountain lion, rain drenched, wind buffeted, but in his might at ease, with burning eyes, who prowls among the herds or flocks or after game, his hungry belly taking him near stout homesteads for his prey. Odysseus had this look, in his rough skin advancing on the girls with pretty braids, and he was driven on by hunger too. Streaked with brine and swollen, he terrified them, so that they fled this way and that. Now only antique Alcinous' daughter stood her ground, being given a bold heart by Athena and steady knees. Basically what's going on, Odysseus is woken by their screams of misthrowing the ball. And he's like, what was that? Oh, it must be nymphs. And then so he's like, I gotta go check for myself. And then he like covers himself with some branch. And he goes out and all the women are scared, except for Alcinous' daughter, who was bold by Athena. So Athena blessed her and made her like not be scared. She faced him waiting, and Odysseus came, debating inwardly what he should do. Embrace this beauty's knees and supplication. That's a weird way to phrase that. Praise this beauty's knees in supplication. we stand apart and used honey-eyed speech, inquiring the way to town, and begged some clothing. In his swift reckoning, he thought it best to trust in words to please her, and keep away, so he might anger the girl, touching her knees. So he can, and let the soft words fall. I guess begging back in the day, you just knelt down and touched their knees. Very strange. So he's debating whether to beg or just to ask for clothes and a way home. Mistress, please, are you divine or mortal? It's one of those who dwell in the wide heaven. You are most near to Artemis, I should say, great Zeus's daughter, in your grace and presence. If you are one of Earth's inhabitants, how blessed your father, your gentle mother, blessed all your kin. I know what happiness must send the warm tears to their eyes each time they see their wondrous child go to the dancing. But one man's destiny is more than blessed, he who prevails and takes you as his bride. Never have I laid eyes on an equally beauty in man or woman. I am hushed indeed. So fair, one time I found a young palm tree at Delos near the altar of Apollo. I had troops under me when I was there, on the sea route that later brought me grief, but that slim palm tree filled my heart with wonder. Never came shoot from earth so beautiful. So now, my lady, I stand in awe so great. I cannot take your knees. I cannot take your knees. And yet my case is desperate. 20 days yesterday in the wine-dark sea, on the ever-longing swell, under gale winds, getting away from the island of Ogygia upon this, and now the terror of storm has left me stranded upon the shore, with more blows yet to suffer. I must believe before the gods relent. Mistress, do me a kindness. After much weary toil, I come to you, and you are the first soul I have seen. I know no others here. Direct me to the town. Give me a rag that I can throw around me, some cloth wrapping that you brought along. May the gods accomplish your desire, a home, a husband, and a harmonious converse with him. The best thing in the world, because a strong house held in serenity, where man and wife agree. Woe to their enemies, joy to their friends. All this they know best. So Odysseus is like, oh, you're so beautiful. Are you a god or a mortal? I can't tell. You're so beautiful. Anyway, can you like put some rags around me? I wish you the best, and your father must be proud, and you're gonna be a good husband. But like, can you help me out here, please? I wish you all the best. Woo! Then she sat of white arms. Nausicaa replied, stranger, there's no quirk or evil in you that I can see. You know Zeus Metes? I don't know what that. Dispense or lot justice.
Meat.
That's weird. You know Zeus metes out fortune to good and bad men as it pleases. Hardship he sent you, and you must bear it. But now that you have taken refuge here, you shall not lack for clothing or any other comfort due to a poor man in distress. The town lies this way, and the men are called Vikings, who own the land and city. I am daughter to the prince Athena, by whom the power of her people stands. Turning, she called out to her maids in waiting, stay with me. Does the sight of a man scare you, or do you take this one for an enemy? Why, there's no fool so brash, and never will be, as to bring war or pillage to this coast. For we are dear to the immortal gods, living here in the sea that rolls forever, distant from other lands and other men. No, this man is a castaway, poor fellow. We must take care of him. Strangers and beggars come from Zeus. A small gift, then, is friendly. Give our new guest some food and drink, and take him into the river, out of the wind to bathe. So she's like, oh, are you guys wimps? This is a good guy. I see no evil in him. You know, Zeus kind of punished him, but, you know, I'm going to help you out. I'm the daughter of Alcinous. We're the Vikings. Now, girls, come out. Give him a bath. Give him some food. Just help him out. Come on, girls. You wimps. They stood up now and called to one another to go on back. Quite soon they led Odysseus under the river bank, as they were bidden, and there laid out a tunic and a cloak, and gave him olive oil in the golden flask. Here, they said, go bathe in the flowing water. But heard now from that kingly man, Odysseus, maids, he said, keep away a little. Let me wash in the brine from my own back, and rub plenty of oil. It is long since my anointing. I take no bath, however, where you can see me, naked before young girls with pretty braids. So, basically it was like, okay, they like set out all of his clothes and they're like, let's help you out. Go bathe over there. And Odysseus is like, I don't want to be naked around you guys. Like, it's been a while. I don't want you to see my dirty body. You know, you pretty girls with you young girls with pretty braids. They left him then and went to tell the princess. And now Odysseus, dousing in the river, scrubbed the coat of brine from his back and shoulders, and rinsed the cloud of sea spume from his hair, got himself all rubbed down from head to foot. Then he put on the clothes the princess gave him. Athena lent him a hand, making him seem taller and massive too, with crisping hair and curls like petals of wild hyacinth. All red golden. Think of gold infused on silver by a craftsman, whose fine art Hephaestus taught him, or Athena, one whose work moves to delight. Just so she lavished beauty over Odysseus' head and shoulders. Then he went down to sit on the sea beach in his new splendor. There the girls regarded him, and after a time she said to the maids beside her, my gentlewomen, I have one thing to tell you. The Olympian gods cannot be all averse to this man coming here among our islanders. Uncouth he seemed. I thought so, too, before. But now he looks like one of the heaven's people. I wish my husband could be fine as he, and glad to stay forever on scary. Oh, there's only 2 pages left. All right. So basically, she's like, this is a handsome fellow, and she like braided him up, made him all beautiful, and she's like, this is a handsome fellow. What a handsome fellow! I wish him well on our island, and I want him to stay here. You know. What have you given refreshment to our guest? At this, the maids, all gravely listening, hastened to set out bread and wine before Odysseus. And how ravenous! Oh my God! How ravenously that patient man took food and drink, his long fast at an end. The Prince Nausicaa now turned aside to fold her linens. In the pretty cart she stowed them, put the mule teams under harness, mounted the driver's seat, and then looked down to say with cheerful prompting to Odysseus, "Up with you now, friend. Back to town we go, and I shall send you in before my father, who is wondrous wise. There in our house with him, you'll meet the noblest of the Vikings. You have good sense, I think. Here's how to do it. While we go through the countryside and farmland, stay with my maids, behind the wagon, walking briskly enough to follow where I lead. But near the town, well, there's a wall with towers around the isle, and beautiful ship basins, right and left of the causeway of approach. Seagoing craft are beached beside the road, each on its launching ways. The agora, with fieldstone benches bedded in the earth, lies either side Poseidon's shrine. For them, men are at work on pitch-black hulls and rigging, cables and sails, and papering of oars. The archer's craft is not for the Vikings, but ship designing, modes of oaring cutters, in which they love to cross the foaming sea. From these fellows I will have no salty talk, no gossip later. Plenty are insolent, and some sea dog might say, after we passed, who is this handsome stranger trailing Nausicaa? Or is she being hospitable to some rover come off his ship from lands across the sea? There being no lands nearer. A god, maybe? A god from heaven? The answer to her prayer, descending now to make her his forever? Better if she's roamed and found a husband somewhere else. None of our town will suit her, though many will come to court her, and those the best. This is the way they might make light of me, and I myself shall hold it shame for any girl to flout her own dear parents, taking up with a man before her marriage." So that's a little, I think this is a thing of the times. So they're like, okay, let's get going. Like they get all packed up. Let's get going, girls. And then she goes and she's like, but like all these people, they'll be like jealous that I have him, and maybe they'll be angry that I have him because he's this hot man trailing behind me. Is that my husband, or is that like a guy I'm gonna date? Like, I shouldn't do this before my marriage. Okay, good. Oh, well, now, what I say, friend, and your chances are excellent for safe conduct from my father. You'll find black poplars in a roadside park around a meadow and a fountain, all Athena's, but father has a garden in the place, this within earshot of the city wall. Go in there and sit down, giving us time to pass through town and reach my father's house. And when you can imagine we're at home, then take the road into the city, asking directions to the palace of Alcinous. You'll find it easily. Any small boy can take you there. No family has a mansion half so grand as he does, being king. As soon as you are safe inside, cross over and go straight through into the Megaron to find my mother. She'll be there in the firelight before a column, with her maids in shadow, spinning a wool dyed richly as the sea. My father's great chair faces the fire too. There like a god he sits and takes his wine. Go past him, cast yourself before my mother, embrace her knees. It's such a stupid. And you may wake up soon at home rejoicing, though your home be far. On mother's feeling much depends. If she looks on you kindly, you shall see your friends under your own roof in your father's country. So she's like, okay, instead of following me into town, people would like shame me. People would like, I don't want to do that. So instead, go into the garden halfway through and then go to the castle afterward. I'm just going to get you close enough into the city that you could just ask any boy to bring you there. And then once you get inside, you'll find my mother and she'll be like sewing. And my father's also there. And then, and then he'll You shall see your friends under your own roof in your father's country. So she's basically, my mom will return you if she thinks of you kindly. At this, she raised her glistening whip, lashing the team into a run. They left the river, cantering beautifully, then trotted smartly. But then she reined them in and spared the whip, so that her maids could follow with Odysseus. The sun was going down when they went by Athena's grove. Here then Odysseus rested, and lifted up his prayer to Zeus's daughter. Hear me, unwearied child of royal Zeus. Listen to me now, thou so aloof. While the earth shaker wrecked and battered me, may I find love and mercy among these people? He prayed for that, and Pallas Athena heard him. Although in deference to her father's brother, she would not show her true form to Odysseus, at whom Poseidon smoldered on until the kingly man came home to his own shore. Oh, okay. So basically what happened in this chapter, Athena tells these girls, go wash your clothes. They're dirty and they're all strewn apart all over the floor. And so these girls, they all go down to the waterbed and they're having a good time washing their clothes. And they end up yelling or being so loud that they wake up Odysseus. And Odysseus is like, ah. And they're like, ah. And like all the girls are scared of him except for Nauticus. And Nauticus, she was given like extra abilities from Athena, and then she's like, we should bathe you and feed you and give you some rest. And so they do that, and then he asks, and then they go back into town, and he rests in the garden. And then he prays to Athena. And that's it. That's that chapter. I don't know why these chapters are so gosh darn stupidly in-depth. It takes 5 years to read. It takes 5 years